Falcon and the Winter Soldier Episode 5 finally gave us that sweet, sweet moment we've been waiting for. John Walker getting punched in the face. But seriously, I also want to take a moment to appreciate the fantastic job Wyatt Russell has been doing in playing Walker. This is a character I've been able to empathize with almost as much as I've wanted to punch him in the face. And the fact that he's been able to elicit such strong, sincerely emotional reactions from the fan base shows what a skilled actor he is. But back to geeking out. He may have an ego the size of a small planet, but it's hard not to feel for the guy at least a little bit when he speaks out at his sentencing and says, "You built me, and I've done everything you've ever asked me to, and I've done it well." He's not evil. He's a guy who's devoted his life to serving his country and who became damaged as a result before the mantle of Captain America was set on his shoulders, with all the great expectations that came along with it. Then he snapped under the weight of it all. And here's where we can see the big contrast between him and another traumatized character, Bucky. Whereas Bucky undertook a difficult ongoing process to heal, Walker suppressed his emotions even further and is focused on revenge. I mean, he lied to Lamar's family about who he killed, and you can just see the vengeful murder in his eyes in that scene. I believed him when he said he wouldn't let the person who killed his partner go. It's just that he hasn't killed her yet. But don't forget the truly epic level of entitlement.
I am Captain America.
Not anymore.
He insists he is Captain America, both to Sam and Bucky at his public sentencing. I think it's this entitlement, this ego, and his jingoistic black and white morality, combined with a lack of compassion, that made the ass-kicking Sam and Bucky gave him so satisfying for me. And of course, he just can't let it go. He's unrepentant at his sentencing. And in the show's first post-credit scene, we see him cobbling together a makeshift Captain America shield and welding it together with his medals of honor. So what do you think, Bob? Do you think Walker's gone over the edge, or has he been in free fall for a while now? How much can you empathize with him?
It's like they say, pride before the fall. I mean, he was just way too prideful. It was all about him. And it became pretty obvious almost from the first episode we see him as Captain America that at some point he was going to drop the ball. Now, we probably didn't know how spectacularly he was going to drop the ball, chasing somebody down in the middle of the street and executing him in front of, 200 witnesses. But
I didn't call that precisely, but I felt like it was going to be pretty bad.
He was going to go overboard on something, and boy, did he.
Yeah.
And he just snaps and goes crazy.
He really did, and he really does suppress everything in a way that I feel is in direct opposition to Bucky sort of trying to heal, right? I feel like this episode was in a way comparing the two, because while Bucky's trying to climb out of it and to face what he's done, Walker sort of closed his eyes, took a deep breath and pushed it all down and was like, all right, back to work.
Yeah, but he was so crap at it. I mean, he kept trying to suppress just to explode later.
Well, that's what happens when you suppress, right?
Yeah, but it seems like he would suppress and then blow up in 10 minutes.
He's a pretty unstable guy. I mean, and I think that...
I mean, even during his trial, you can tell, he's mad and he's trying to push it down, and his man is trying to push it down. And, the trial scene is only a few minutes long, and he can't hold it together. He had to know, in front of that kind of world stage, what he did. They were taking the shield and at least demoting him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's definitely... he's definitely gone off the reservation, I think. But here's the other thing that struck me. I would say the second time I watched the episode, which was last night. He's very upset. And you remember he goes through that part of his outburst where he says,
You built me.
Everything you ever asked me to do, I did it, and I did it really well. So in a way, they kind of set him up to fail. I mean, he's not really wrong there. And I think that one of the reasons a lot of people have I'm on Twitter and, I pursue Reddit peruse Reddit and, look through, things online and what the chatter is and how the fans are reacting and stuff. And like one of the things I've noticed is there does seem to be a section of the fandom, and I don't know how actually big it is, because you have to wonder, like, the most vocal segment of a population is not necessarily, the majority. However, there are some people who love John Walker and, seem to really connect with him on some level. And I think part of what may be behind this is like, look, a lot of people in the world and in the United States in particular, for sure, feel like they've been left behind, and that they have followed the rules, and that they have worked hard and done everything that, that we were always told that we were supposed to do for the American dream or whatever, but everybody's pissed off because it didn't actually work out, right? Like, in a lot of ways, the society hasn't been doing too well, this, that, and the other. Like, we don't need to get into like a whole, like, societal or like political analysis or anything, but I'm just saying, like, there's definitely a sense of people being angry because the system is not working for them, and they have felt even betrayed by the system. And they maybe have responded to it in a way where some people are like, oh, well, you're crazy. You're just doing something. You shouldn't have voted for that person. You're nothing but an awful racist. And to be sure, there are racists out there, and racists do racist things. But I'm just saying, people may respond in a way that is not so constructive. People may do bad things, but that doesn't mean that there's not a legitimate grievance. Like, this is kind of what I've been talking about in terms of like bad guys and villains in the MCU, right? It's like Zemo, for example, has a legitimate grievance with the Avengers, with, everything that went down. His family got killed. Carly Morgenthau has a legitimate grievance in terms of how the people in these GRC camps have been treated and are being treated, right? You could even say that Walker has a legitimate grievance in the sense that they kind of set him up to fail. I mean, he went through that whole speech with Lamar, right, in the previous episode, where he was like, they're sitting at that table at like a restaurant or whatever, and he asks him if he would take the serum if he had a chance, and they're talking about how, oh yeah, he got those medals to cover up the fact that it was like the worst day of his life, and they had to do some really awful stuff, basically, right? Like, this is a highly decorated guy, but he's also a highly damaged guy who's highly damaged because he chose to serve his country, and they put him into these situations. Look, I'm not saying that the military doesn't have to do some really difficult stuff that can traumatize people. I'm saying they took this guy who was already damaged, and they put the weight of all this Captain America stuff on him, and it broke him. And now they're just tossing him away. And so you can understand, in a sense, how he feels betrayed by that. But he's also reacting really badly, and that's what's moving him on the spectrum towards, being a bad guy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't want to, because like Wyatt Russell's doing an amazing job, as I said, with this character, and it's not just this black and white thing to where it's like, oh, he's evil, fuck him, or whatever. I don't know. I mean, like, look, I still want to punch him in the face. I still, don't really like him, but when I watched it again and I was watching him have that kind of like outburst, I was just thinking about how a lot of people do really feel betrayed because like the system is not working for them, and they feel like they followed the rules, and it's still not working for them. So like, what's your take on this, Bob?
Well, over the last year with the pandemic, we've seen examples of a lot of ways where the system has just let everybody down. There have been some triumphs, but there's definitely been some flaws pointed out to everybody. Now
Yeah.
multiply that times the 5 years where half the population of the planet was missing, and then they suddenly come back. If the world as a whole barely held it together for the pandemic, how well are they going to hold it together for something that monumental? I mean, really.
Yeah. That is a
That's
great
just
way of
a
putting
lot
it.
of stress just from having lived through that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really good point. So I think we're learning more about how we're in a world in MCU now and at the time of the show that is in a very sort of precarious, tense situation, right? And to that point, in a sense, they do kind of need Captain America again. I mean, at least America does. I mean, I'm not going to speak for like other countries or anything, but that symbol of hope and integrity that sort of Steve sort of turned it into, right? That's kind of what people need. What did they say in some of the early episodes? The world is broken and people are looking for somebody to put it back together.
Yeah, they
right?
want somebody to rally around.
Exactly.
When everything's falling apart, the man with the plan is a king.
That's right, with the Star-Spangled Man with a plan. But clearly Walker was not the guy to like make that happen, right?
Yeah, we said that from the very beginning, that he was not the man. When you measured him against the ruler of Steve Rogers, he just didn't measure up.
Yeah. And look, I mean, it's not like he doesn't have his supporters, but I would dare say that instead of uniting people, he has further divided people. Because now you're going to have people like, no, he's a murderer, and on the other side is like, no, he's an American hero, and you like
I don't think when you go to the point of someone laying on the ground passively begging for their life and you execute them, I don't see how you could label that as heroic under any circumstances.
Oh, I don't see how you can either. But I've seen people tweeting that out.
Well,
now that's not to say that these are not trolls that are tweeting this out and saying this stuff, but I don't think all of them are trolls. But look, all I'm saying is, I think that you can imagine a scenario where somebody has the shield and takes on the mantle where they don't create a situation that fosters that kind of division the way that Walker did. And I have a feeling that Sam is the guy who would have, would be uniting people instead of dividing people. At least as much as anybody can, as much as anybody can. So that's kind of how I feel about that. Obviously we haven't seen the last of Walker. He was in there making his, shield in the garage.
The hillbilly garage shield.
Yeah, he was like using his medals of honor to like weld it together. So
and he didn't do it with vibranium, so it's probably just like steel or something. At most, maybe he got himself a hold of some titanium. I don't think the tools he had would have formed titanium.
Yeah, I don't think he could have welded titanium.
Just for the average, person, like I can go buy titanium if I wanted to. It's expensive, but you can do it. You can't just go buy vibranium.
Right.
So
right.
when he eventually comes up against Sam and Bucky again, he's definitely going to get whooped again.
Yeah, in fact, we're gonna talk predictions in a while as well too. But like, he's gonna show up in the next episode, and he wants to kill Carly, and he's gunning for her, and that Val, who we're gonna talk about in a little bit, that I think she's gonna want him to kill Carly. And probably further employ him, given that he has the serum in him now. I mean, his arm is already healed. He was using his left arm to make that shield and put that together, So, but like, look at his face in that post-credit scene where he's putting that shield together. Look at his face in that post-credit scene.
He ain't happy.
I think he has gone over the edge. Like, how would you, like, when do you think was the moment that he'd well and truly lost it? Was it the moment that, like, Lamar was killed? Was it before then?
The turning point is when they're having the fight in the hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, they're not even super soldiers, where he just gets completely whooped. He sort of expected when he was up against a super soldier that the super soldier would have the upper hand. But
Right.
when a couple of just normal humans just not only won, but like handily won, like it wasn't even close. It wasn't even a fight. It was just him getting embarrassed.
They made him look like a toddler, trying to fight an alligator or something.
It would be like me trying to fight Bruce Lee. I lost twice before I even got in the ring.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
Yeah. So that was too big of a blow to his ego, you think?
Yeah. I mean, and then everything after that just was just more nails in the coffin of his self-image. Like he just couldn't handle that many losses in a row.
It was a lot of losses in a row.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we're agreed about Walker here.
Yeah, he's gone full wackadoodle. Yeah.
He's gone full wackadoodle. Okay, so let's move on to our next topic.